Today on BRStv, we're going to talk dry live rock. Hi, I'm Ryan, your host of BRStv, where each week we cover a new topic related to reefing. This week we're going to explore dry live rock. We'll cover why reefers use live rock, wet versus dry, how to select the right type for you, and some suggested curing tips. Most of today's reef aquariums utilize rock to act as a primary filtration media. The rock's surface provides proper surface area for bacteria to populate, multiply, and process all done eaten food and fish waste. Rock comes in two primary types, wet and dry. Wet live rock comes out of the ocean and shipped to you wet. Wet rock has live bacteria and desirable things like Coralline algae. However, because it comes out of the ocean, it can have anything on it, including some pretty undesirable pests, algae, and parasites. The other primary type of rock is dry rock. This is mostly just wet live rock that was cleaned and allowed to dry out before shipment and really popular. Dry rock comes basically lifeless. However, once you add it to the water, the beneficial bacteria will populate on its own. You basically couldn't stop it from populating a normal reef tank if you wanted to. If you'd like it to happen a bit faster, there's some booster products like Bio-Spira. Coralline algae just needs to be seeded by adding a coral with some on its base or even adding a single piece of well-inspected live rock. So why select dry rock? There's some pretty solid reasons it's become so popular. First is it's significantly cheaper. First in the actual cost of the rock per pound. Second, you don't need to pay for water weight, which can be anywhere from 10 to 30% of the total rock weight. Third, because it can be shipped ground, which is often free with larger orders. Wet rock almost always has to be shipped with expensive expedited options like overnight service. Beyond that, the fact that it's dry and doesn't come with life is why most seasoned reefers select dry rock. Most reefers don't have a hard time maintaining a reef tank for a year or so, but around that point is where some of the decisions we made in the beginning start to show up and play a major role in how successful the tank is long term. One of those is the pests that were introduced at the beginning that we now have to deal with. Wet rock can come with a whole slew of pests that attack fish and corals, as well as some pretty undesirable types of algae. Some of the more common ones being pest anemones like Aptasia, Bryopsis, bubble algae, flatworms, bristleworms, red bugs, parasitic isopods. The list is pretty long, and once they're in the tank, many of them are basically impossible to remove. Solution is often just to try to remove as much as we can when we can. Another solution is just simply never put them in the tank to begin with. Starting with dry rock is the easiest way to make sure you're starting clean. After that, pay close attention to what you add to the tank and dip your corals. You may accidentally introduce some pests with a coral addition, but this strategy will likely limit the types you deal with to just a couple, and will be much easier to treat. The reason I say seasoned reefers commonly use dry rock is because they've been through the hassle of dealing with these pests, know what a pain in the butt it is, and they'll do anything they can to avoid it. The fact that the dry rock is less expensive as well just makes it a no-brainer. So what type of dry rock? The most common types are known as Fiji, Pucani, and Reef Saver. They all have their advantages, but at the end of the day, unless you have some specialized needs, I would just select the one that looks best to you visually, because they all will provide adequate filtration for your tank. Everyone has their own visual preferences and what they're looking to create. The one thing I can say is there's almost always 10 to 20,000 pounds of rock here at BRS, and even though I always intend on using something new, I always end up using Pucani because I think it looks the best and it's the easiest to customize with tools and build caves or other cool elements. We have a pretty solid video on this, so check it out if you're interested. As to the individual advantages of each type, Fiji is like the standard live rock in reefing. The individual pieces are more rock-like, which is appealing to many reefers. The relatively smooth surface is pretty easy to clean before adding it to the tank, as well as long-term maintenance. And our testing shows it to have the most surface area per gram of all the rocks we sell. Pucani is a customer favorite, and we sell about 5 times as much because it simply looks amazing. Nothing comes close to this natural network of holes. This not only looks cool, but also makes attaching the corals easy and provides safe habitat for microfauna like copepods to reproduce continually. Pucani is also the least dense of all the rocks we sell, which means you get a lot more rock for what you pay. It also likely means the rock's internal pore network is more available. In our surface area testing demo, Pucani allowed as much as 6 times as much water to enter the pore network as some other rock types. One downside to Pucani is the impressive hole network also tends to hold more dried up organic material, which is harder to see or reach. You'll likely want to soak the rock in water for at least a few weeks to cure it before using it. Reef Saver is our #1 seller and has a few advantages. First, it's the only rock of the bunch that doesn't come out of the ocean. Reef Saver is a calcium carbonate rock, which is the same material as ocean live rock, but mined out of the ground. This means it has absolutely zero impact on ocean reefs and a good enough reason on its own to use it. Reef Saver has an impressive hole network that looks stunning. I'd also call it the easiest to stack or aquascape attractively because the edges interlock almost seamlessly. This makes it particularly attractive to new reefers. Because it doesn't come out of the ocean, Reef Saver is also very clean and has basically no organics on its surface that need to be removed. Only downside I see to Reef Saver is it's a denser type of rock, and our surface area demo showed that water had a hard time penetrating the deeper layers within the rock. Other than that, there are a couple specialty rocks with Tonga shelf and branch. These rocks are much harder to work with, but more advanced aquascapers can use it to create some pretty stunning minimalist aquascapes. Both of these rock types can be very difficult to build structures with, and the shapes are very unpredictable. So it's unlikely you'll get the exact pieces you need to build the aquascape of your dreams that you have in your head. If you're dead set on using this type of rock, I would really suggest ordering significantly more than you think you need so you can increase the chances of building what you're looking for. Regardless of what rock you select, it should be soaked and cleaned before use, a process often referred to as curing. We want to let all of the organics on the surface of the rock dissolve, get any of that dirt that might be on it off, as well as build a biofilm on the rock which will help prevent algae from getting a foothold in the new tank. There are 100 ways to do this, and people have success with all of them. Our suggestion is just to soak the rock in heated salt water with no light for somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks with a 100% water change somewhere in the middle. This can be done in a separate container or directly in the tank if it's easier. If you do elect to do it in the tank, make sure to completely drain the tank when you're done and start the tank with brand new salt water. Easiest way to know for sure the curing process is completely done is to test for nitrates a week or two after you do your 100% change. If it reads 0, the rock is likely fully cured. We have almost 400 reefing videos out there and release a new one every week, so if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you can't wait, check out these other rock-related videos with that demo on the surface area, this Bucani video where we show you how to modify it, or the top 10 questions on dry rock. See you next week with another episode of BRStv.